exploring the intersection of truth, governance, and public responsibility in Jamaica's political landscape.
Some people have said, hey, why you keep putting these things up? I would say, yeah, we're putting them up because these things are inspirational. They're inspirational. And it's part of the process. It's almost like, well, you start slow and you wean people off of the defeatism where they feel like they can't do certain things. You let them know that just start thinking through these things, these profound statements, and you can use them too. In fact, we encourage you to use them, and we encourage you to become these statements. See what I'm saying? We encourage you to become a lion, not a sheep. So it's better to live as a lion for one day rather than 100 years as a sheep. And we're going to get to it. Love truth even if it hurts you, and hate lies even if they help you. Truth, truth, truth. We will go down speaking the truth if that's what it means. If it means that we're going to be defeated speaking the truth, then we will be defeated because we're not changing. We're not stooping to telling lies. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. You have to live with yourself. And the lies may not catch up. May not catch up to you today. But remember this, it may be long, but it won't be forever. At some point, they'll catch up to you. They will catch up to you. See that, folks? I guess this is our Valentine thing given to the people. Love doesn't make the world go round. Love is what makes the ride worthwhile. Big up on yourself, big up on yourself, big up on yourself. Follow my ladies, big up on yourself. Brethren, big up on yourself, though. All right, well, stop it right there, so. And we'll move on. Here's the first video. We played it last week, but this is like the foundation. Here we go.
Sometimes the smartest people you know do the most idiotic of things. Why is it that an expert in one field can look like a fool in another? Well, according to the philosopher Nathan Ballantyne, it might be down to something called epistemic trespassing. Epistemic trespassing is when an expert in one field thinks that they are an expert in another. So if you are good at coding, at astrophysics or medicine, you imagine that you are good at politics, at sociology or at anthropology. Epistemic trespassing is when a tech billionaire who thinks that because he is successful in one industry, he can solve a complex geopolitical crisis. Or it's when a brilliant physicist believes that their mastery of maths makes them an authority on public health. Ballantyne argues that those who are well qualified and who have decades of earned experience often have a kind of intellectual pride or halo effect that blinds them to their own boundaries. Of course, some subjects overlap and there are transferable skills, but Ballantyne argues that to avoid trespassing, we should calibrate our knowledge when we approach other fields. In other words, we need to be less sure of ourselves and more willing to bow to others who know better. As Plato's Socrates put it, the beginning of wisdom is knowing how limited your knowledge is. And in a world of loud opinions, we need to recognize that just because somebody is a genius in one area, that doesn't make them an authority in another.
Simple enough. Did you just mute? I think you muted both.
Yeah, no, one. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
All right. Oh, by the way, folks, come next week, all of these problems will be.
Why people have so big talk, you see what?
Tax implications. Where we are that now? With the Prime Minister, the tax implications. The articles, the tax implications.
Yeah, those are on the PMIC.
PMIC. Okay, here we go. All right. Folks, I don't know how many of you, let me share the screen. Hold on.
Never call a name in a megawatt. But if you can pin the tail on a particular donkey, go right ahead.
All right. Megawatt I get attitude. All right, here we go. Here's the first one. All right, folks. I don't know how many of you have seen this article where it says 11 car dealers that falsely filed zero income reported 4 billion Jamaican dollars after
With a B.
with a B. I hope you understand the headline. 11 car dealers in Jamaica, they reported zero income. And TAJ, the taxing authorities in Jamaica, they went after them. And when they went after them, the 11 car dealers coughed up. Or they reported 4 billion. They're saying, yeah, 4 billion we didn't pay. We didn't notify you. We intentionally didn't notify you. Because it says falsely filed zero. So they didn't talk about it. And then, whoops, 4 billion, right? And it says, the article says, 11 used car dealers that previously declared no income later reported more than 4 billion in pre-tax earnings. That is 4 billion they have to pay taxes on. Tax Administration Jamaica says. That's the first one. We can just leave it because there's another article, but we'll start with this. Now, look at this. Company linked to Prime Minister Holness files zero tax return. Stop right there. Company linked to Prime Minister Holness files zero tax return. The first one, 11 car dealers, filed zero tax return. And then it was determined that 4 billion they didn't pay taxes on. See, the Prime Minister now filed zero. Let's show you something. Before we do that, though, I want to show you this before we get into the Prime Minister's thing. Listen.
You would have noted something a little bit different that we don't usually do. We don't usually necessarily take on misinformation and disinformation or information that is false. That is changing. We are going to have to do so in this context where something is said that is not true. We will be countering it. We will come with the receipts. We will play the videos. From months ago, we have the records and we will do that. We have to focus on being able to respond to misinformation and disinformation. There's a lot of that out there in the public sphere, and we cannot leave it unchallenged. And so you will be seeing new approaches from the Ministry of Information in terms of dispelling those things. And in many instances, we call them misinformation and disinformation. Those are fancy words for lies. And so where there are lies, we will be correcting them. And there have been many of those. And I know Minister Morgan will be working very closely with me in relation to addressing that issue of lies that are proliferating. And we will give you the facts. And that's why we ask you to tune in here. Because we bring the ministers, we open them up for challenge and allow them to tell you the work that we're doing, and we tell you what we're doing in cabinet. Because what we do is not secret. We're doing it because we've been asked to do this by the people of Jamaica. And we take that role very, very seriously.
Well, she was asked by the people of Jamaica to do it. I don't know if that is AXED or ASKED. I don't know. Again, English is my second language. I'm a patois expert. But here's what she said. She said, we're going to come with receipts. We're going to play the videos. Misinformation, disinformation, fancy words for flat out lies. And she and whomever, they'll be correcting them. And then they'll be dispelling them. We just said that the Prime Minister, company linked to Prime Minister files zero tax return yet gives loan of 20 million. That's the second part. Yet gives loan of 20 million. I want them tell me now what we're going to show you. I want them tell me now if this is misinformation, if this is disinformation, or flat out lies. Or we could say, and flat out lies. All right, here we go. How many of you remember this? We talk about this many, many times, but I just want, how many of you remember this? Let me get the page number. Let me get it. Hold on, people. Stay with me. 6 more pages. 142. All right, here we go. All right. See that? You can see that, Professor?
Yes.
It says issue number 3. This, by the way, folks, is the Commission's investigation on the Prime Minister's statutory declaration. Remember where we started? We started with 11 car dealerships claiming 0 taxes. They found billions after they were investigated. Was it 4 billion? And they're going to have to pay taxes on that. Let's go to, this is a receipt. This is not a video. This is for the minister who just spoke. This is a receipt. It says tax compliance concerns. It says the Integrity Commission considered the following. Look at this. First, the financial statements provided by Mr. Holness indicate that in 2021, Imperium earned at least 5.1 million, yes, 5.1 million in dividend, exchange gains, and interest. 5 million. Notwithstanding, Imperium filed a nil tax return for 2021 and 2022. If you recall, Imperium, the Prime Minister, he was there for Imperium. Look at the second one. Positive Media, management accounts. And these are companies that he formed during COVID, during 2020. It says, statements of comprehensive income for 2021, submitted by Mr. Holness, indicates total income of $20 million. Notwithstanding the $20 million total income, Positive Media filed a nil tax return for 2021 and 2022, indicating that the business had not engaged in any revenue generating activity over the 2 years of its existence. So that they had income of 20 million. The Prime Minister said, Positive Media says, no, nil tax returns. We'll make nothing. Look at number 3, Estate Bridge. It says Estate Bridge, the profit and loss statement for the year ending in 2021, December 31st, 2021, shows interest income of 1 million. Notwithstanding, Estate Bridge filed a nil tax returns for 2021, which means that the business has not engaged in any revenue generating activity in that year, meaning that the company don't make no money. So where did they have this million in interest income? No money. Look at this one. There's a company called Green Emerald. And the Green Emerald is a company down in the heart of the ghetto, Henderson Avenue. I think over Cockburn Pen. At the heart of the ghetto. And they loaned the Prime Minister's company money. They loaned Positive Media. Here it is right here. They loaned them 20.6 million. Here it is right here. Green Emerald provided loans to Positive Media to the tune of 20.6 million and appeared to be in operation March 2021 to May 2022. And look at what Green Emerald filed. Nil taxes for 2021 and tax returns declaring income of $355,000. What them get? What is company at the heart of the ghetto? We them get 20 million for lend the Prime Minister, 20.6 million for lend the Prime Minister company. Where? You could keep going. So the commission said there is sufficient basis on. Hold on, let me go back and just make it clear to people. Let me just make it clear. Folks, it's on page 142 of the Integrity Commission's report concerning the Prime Minister's statutory declaration. And it starts out, the caption is tax compliance concerns. And the first company, Imperium, filed nil tax return, even though they have 5 million. They had 5 million to declare. Then the second one, Positive Media, another company associated with the Prime Minister, nil, even though it had total income of 20 million. No tax return. Estate Bridge, third company, nil tax return for 2021. They had interest income of 1 million. And then we have a company that is Green Emerald, that is affiliated with the Prime Minister's company, in the sense that they loaned the Prime Minister's company, Positive Media, did some kind of an advertisement thing for them. They paid the Prime Minister's company, paid them to do the advertising, and then they loaned them 20.6 million. And you see it right there, Green Emerald filed nil tax returns for 2021. Now, to be clear, the Prime Minister doesn't own Green Emerald, and there's no evidence that he's on the board, he has any influence, or he's providing direction to them. Only thing we're saying is that this company loaned the Prime Minister's company. They did work for them. They paid the Prime Minister's company, Positive Media, and then they loaned them 20.6 million. A little beanie company down in the heart of the ghetto, professor. Where did they get the money from? And then filed nil tax return. So here's what the Integrity Commission said. It says, in all of the circumstances that I just mentioned to you, that is in the document, it said there is sufficient basis on which to make a referral to the Commissioner General, TAJ, Tax Administration of Jamaica, and the Financial Investigation Division for a determination as to the appropriateness of the filing of nil tax returns and whether there is any financial impropriety on the part of the companies. Look at the next sentence. On a preliminary assessment, the tax returns filed by Green Emerald, that's the company that's located on Henderson Avenue, Cockburn Pen, Prime Minister's constituency. It says the tax returns filed by Green Emerald do not demonstrate that this company has the income generating capacity to be in a position to lend the Prime Minister's company 20 million. There it is right there. They said, Green Emerald, you in the middle of the ghetto, you know, make no money, I mean, you're not a big established company. How you come about loaning the Prime Minister's company, Positive Media, 20 million? How is that? All right. But I'll finish it.
Provost,
Yes, go ahead.
what kind of industry is Green Emerald in?
Green Emerald is like my understanding is that it's like a wholesale, like a small wholesale in the middle of the community.
And what kind of industry are the other entities in?
The Positive Media is in the
Advertising and broadcasting.
yeah, it's in the broadcasting thing. It's in the PR public relations thing. And in fact, the Prime Minister says, yeah, it was developed to help with his party and private interests to do PR work for them. So if anything, they should be loaning.
Market me then.
Huh?
They didn't need market me.
And that's why you're the professor, right? How come they didn't go to market me? How come how come this company, how come Positive Media, the Prime Minister's company, a PR company, how come they didn't market me thing? Well, I guess that would be conflict of interest, right?
There's that, and there's the other part of it where it's just not as comfortable in that space.
Well, indeed. Let's go to 171 now. No, sorry, 151. All right, here we go. This is all talking about where money came from and how the Prime Minister couldn't, the Integrity Commission can't figure out where all this money came from. So here is it, the point I just made. It says the evidence obtained by the DI suggests that Positive Media, the Prime Minister's company, was funding another company, another company owned by the Prime Minister's, Imperium, rather than Imperium funding Positive Media, because Positive Media never had no money. So how Positive Media can I fund Imperium? Amounts totaling over 70 million were transferred from Positive Media to Imperium, and over 50 million from Imperium to Positive Media during the relevant period. A surplus of approximately 20 million remain in Imperium's account. And them said this will need to be ventilated. So you see money going this way, money coming this way. It's a mess. It's a mess. Look at this, 6.1.5. On the point we're talking about, the nil filing, the tax filings. It says, the Integrity Commission concludes that the filing of nil income tax returns for the years 2021 and 2022 on the part of Imperium, Prime Minister's company, Estate Bridge, Prime Minister was affiliated with that company, and Positive Media, Prime Minister is affiliated with that company as well, in circumstances where those companies reported income and other business activities in their audited financial statements poses significant tax compliance concerns. So they're saying, look, these companies were making money. So how is it that they turn out saying they're filing nil? They don't make any money. We have the records showing that they made money. So how is it that they're saying they don't make any money? So that's what, 6.15. Let's go to 6.22. Here it is. The Integrity Commission further concludes that the foregoing conduct on the part of Imperium, Estate Bridge, Positive Media, and Green Emerald on its face constitutes a fundamental undermining of the tax laws, and more particularly a breach. This breach deprived the government of the opportunity to make an assessment as to whether any taxes were due for the years 2021 and 2022 in respect of the named companies, and if so, the amount due and payable. Now, they were very kind, they meaning the Integrity Commission, because here's what happened now, my Jamaican people. If you was a small business owe money, you know, if you was a small business person owe money and then find out that you do all of these things, you file, it's a false filing. That is a crime. It's a false filing. If them catch you, dog nyam your supper. But here's this, that the Prime Minister is there, central, at least 3 of the companies who won't put him with Green Emerald, but we know he's very involved with Imperium, Estate Bridge, and Positive Media. Nil taxes, and so far what's happened? Nothing. Nothing has happened, my people. Nothing. Nothing.
And that says something.
Yeah, here it is. They say respecting the tax compliance concerns around the filing of nil income tax returns on the part of Imperium, Estate Bridge, Positive Media, and Green Emerald. Just remember those companies. Imperium, Estate Bridge, Positive, they should just roll off your tongue when they talk about the Prime Minister. It says, filing nil income tax in circumstances where they appear to be engaged in business activities. The Commission recommends that a copy of this report be referred to the Commissioner General Tax Administration, Jamaica, for the necessary assessment to be made and where required for the appropriate penalties to be imposed. Now, here's the thing. The Integrity Commission, or the Commission, they made a referral to the Financial Investigative Division. Why? Because they said the Prime Minister was not cooperating. Now, as you've heard me say many times, they should have gone to court and request an order compelling the Prime Minister to provide the information. Let him oppose it. Don't run to the FID first. Go to the court. They didn't. They went over there and they gave the stuff to FID. So FID is looking at it from the perspective of, what do you call it, Kevin, not illicit enrichment. Yeah, no. Illicit, help me out, my people. Illicit.
Well, if it's not eliciting enrichment, then it's tax avoidance.
Yeah, illicit enrichment. The one that they've referred over to, they referred to FID. All right.
Yes.
But here's what happened. What they didn't refer to FID was the tax piece.
Right.
So the question now is, and the FID piece, it's in court, right? So somebody could reasonably say, okay, that part is in court, and that has to do with his cooperation. But this piece that you see on the screen, this has to do with a referral to the Commissioner General, not the Financial Investigative Division. So the FID doesn't have any impact on this. The tax people could go ahead, look at the records, make a finding. This has been a while and we haven't heard anything. This has been quite some time and we haven't heard anything. And here's the thing, they didn't, or they don't have to go digging for the information, because the Integrity Commission, the commission, they have all of the income statements. They have all the information. They have all the information. So I don't understand why TAJ hasn't come out with a ruling yet. We see this. We see this one. We see this. And don't get me wrong. You try to avoid taxes, or no, you try to evade taxes, that's a crime. Tax avoidance is not a crime. Tax evasion is a crime. And these people try to evade taxes by saying zero income when they had a grand total of $4 billion in income. But TAJ made a decision and went after these people and brought them to court. Here it is, that they pled guilty to income tax offenses, and it lists the company. So the question is, why haven't you gone after the Prime Minister? Why haven't you gone after him? And we haven't heard anything. Now here's the Prime Minister.
Those people, and I'm saying it here, who are vested in telling you lies to mislead you. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe they want the country to descend in chaos. They don't like to see law and order. I'm saying to you, be careful of the information that you consume. Information is like food. If you consume bad food, it will make your body unhealthy. If you consume bad information, it will make your mind unhealthy. Why would somebody come on social media, make a post and say something that the government never said? And some people believe it. I urge all of you to think before you consume the lies that people are telling you. It will only lead you to make bad decisions.
I have a question for the Prime Minister. What if you consume good food? You talk about consuming bad food, and it will lead you to bad decisions. So tell us about consuming good food now. Good food like what we just showed. That you have three companies that you are directly involved with, and a fourth that you're indirectly involved with. They're all filing nil taxes. Is that bad food? Or is that good food? We noticed that you didn't say anything about good food. We noticed that. Here's advice for you coming from a member of your cabinet.
Something. Enough is enough. Is enough.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. So, what we're going to do now, Daily Robertson started. Remember, Taj went after Darvaz's brother for tax non-compliance when he lost his job. There you go. There you go. So we're gonna move on now. We just wanted to start out with you with that story, just showing you how one set of laws, but two different applications, where the motor car dealers, they filed nil taxes and they were found guilty and they had to make a payment. And then the prime minister now, he has 3 companies that is directly involved. And the referral was made. And this is a very simple matter because the documents are there. And we don't know why. Love will find? I have no idea. I have no idea. Good question. I have no idea. So let's move on to this. How many of you heard about this? There you go. Opposition cries backdoor politics as FID bill passes Senate. How many of you, this was February 7th, a week ago. Not sure how many of you made note of this. But here's what happened with this case. The government, you know, they have the majority in the Senate. And you know that, remember people were saying, oh, they have, the opposition now has twice as many people in the House of Representatives. And they're always going to have, if you're the opposition, you're always going to have the minority in the Senate. And they're saying, well, now we have power. Yes and no. If a vote requires something having to do with the Constitution, 2/3 majority, yeah, you have power. But if it requires just a simple majority, you really don't have much power. You have more voices, but the voices, they don't add up to power. Because if you don't have the numbers, you're going to lose every time. This is what happens right here. It says the government used its majority in the Senate to secure passage of a bill to amend the Financial Investigative Division Act. And what's that? That has to do with Mr. Dennis Strong's operation. And people are saying that the chain of command is that the Mr. Dennis Strong, technical director, that person has to report to the Minister of Finance and the Public Service. And so they're saying, no, we need to change it. You can't have the minister granting oversight. And so they say, okay, let's amend it. And the amendment called for removing ministerial oversight. However, it says, because it has to do with the sharing of information. Who can you share information with? And they're saying, it's right here. It says, the bill is set to remove the long-standing requirement for the FID to obtain ministerial approval before entering into information sharing agreements with local and foreign agencies. So, you know, the minister they would have to come to the minister, and then the minister would exercise control, oversight, say yes, no. So they said, no, we need to do away with that. They did away with it. But here's what they did. And they thought they could trick the opposition. They said, okay, we're saying that you don't need a minister to sign off on it. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it consistent with the Constitution. And that makes sense. But then they inserted a little piece, a little thing in it that they didn't think people would have seen. And that is that phrase, established policy frameworks. So they say it must comply with the Constitution and establish policy frameworks. Let me move this. Okay, man, that's the wrong one. That remove that. So here's what happens now. When you say establish policy frameworks, who are you talking about? The government again. So now it's not the minister now, it's the cabinet. And who is in the cabinet? The ruling party, the government. So the opposition was up in arms and said, no. This is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You've removed it from the minister, and now you've made it within the province of the cabinet, the prime minister. And they thought nobody would see that. Nobody would make any mention of it. And they got caught.
Who's going to raise an objection?
Well, the opposition did. But they did it within the confines of the Senate and the House of Representatives. If I understand where you're going with it, you're talking outside.
Right.
Those precincts. You're saying outside the precinct of the Senate and the House of Representatives, who's going to raise an objection? And then you have civil society, you have churches, business groups, community groups, NGOs, that's non-governmental organizations. You have all of these people who could have raised it. Because here's the thing, it's about sharing information. It's about sharing information. Who's going to approve the FID sharing information? Now you see what's going to happen now. Now it was the minister. It was the minister. Here is how the little trickery works. Here's how it works. When they say governmental policy, if that policy is made by the cabinet, guess what? ATI cannot help you because discussions in the cabinet are exempt from ATIs. You might have gotten away with it if it was just the minister. File an ATI and said, tell us, provide documentation regarding this and regarding that. But you can't get away with it now trying to use an ATI to obtain that information because now it's going to be within the province of the cabinet. And once it's with the cabinet, there is that is an exception to providing you with information under the Access to Information Act. And guess what, my people? It is now, it has, and say, win the right. Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. For those of you who didn't vote, I don't want to hear any complaints. I don't want to hear any complaints if you didn't vote. Because if you didn't vote, as we used to say, and as we still say, take where you get. Take where you get. Because by not voting, you're actually voting for this. There's a connection.
That is a catch-22, you know. You don't vote because, well, first of all, you need to know why the voting not happening. Is it that you don't hold a position on where you want to vote, so you end up in a stalemate and just didn't do it? Or you just decide that you're not going to vote? And when we make a statement like, hey, you get what you take. I mean, you take what you get. It puts us in a precarious position when there are other voting things that are also happening. So are you not voting to boycott? Or are you not voting just because? Why? I don't feel like it. Or has some people come around and said to you, don't worry about it, your vote is already in. So you didn't. As a voter, you will never get everything you want. Okay, freedom. As a person, you'll never get everything you want. Does that mean that you should not take certain steps to get what you can? So there are certain things that are afforded to us. Let's take advantage of them when we can. Make it count.